Hey, folks, welcome back to a bonus episode of Reaction Bite Radio with your host, Kevin Postlewaite, and your co host,
Julie Price. And if you're enjoying our videos, please hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share. We are bringing spotlight to angling in and around West Virginia.
In that vein, we are here with our good friend Ed Powell for a Bassmaster Opens recap from the Kissimmee chain of lakes in Florida. Ed, how are you?
Going great. Didn't want to burn up any of the stuff that I needed for day two. End up weighing 1410, sitting in 22nd place after day one. I feel like I've still got a good game plan for day two. What I need to focus on is going out and catching the 5 biggest fish that I can catch, and that's it. It doesn't matter. I need to just focus on catching the 5 biggest fish. So that's what I did. So day two, I don't mess with the minnow shaking fish. And I've got a good boat number this time, right? So I run straight to Cypress Cove. Same thing, not a boat in there. Fish the entire thing out, and I get 2 bites and catch one 12.5-inch fish. So oddly enough, all that chopped grass that I was telling you about earlier, that is created on the weekends by duck hunters. And I never really thought about this, but by Friday, most of that is either eaten by those little black birds with the red beaks, eaten by the fry, whatever's under it, or it rots and sinks to the bottom. I kind of noticed that it was going away, but Friday there was none. It was gone, and so were the fish. I really don't think I caught them all. I think that when that cut grass, that chopped grass was gone, that bite was gone. So I'm like, what am I going to do now? So I go ahead. I fished Cypress Cove. I caught the one 12-incher, and I was happy to have it. So I start running those other mats that I'd marked in practice that I didn't fish on day one. Same thing, no chopped grass, no bites. I fished about 5 or 6 of them, spent about an hour running to those mats, not a bite. I guarantee you they had fish on Wednesday and Thursday, but they're gone. So now the demons are starting to creep in, right? Like, crap, I catch a good bag yesterday. I'm sitting in 22nd place, and I'm going to weigh one fish that weighs 14 ounces. So I start thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I can't run that chopped grass pattern because it's over.
What do we call those? Intrusive thoughts, right? The ones that come at you.
Yeah, they're bad. And I fight those. Maybe everybody does, but I fight those. And that was why I didn't want to know what I needed, because at that point I'd have went into, okay, I need 8 pounds. Where can I catch 8 pounds?
Right, where can I catch that?
Yeah, it wasn't anymore about where do I catch the 5 biggest. It becomes, I need 8 pounds, 10 pounds, 12 pounds. I need 4 pounds. And I go into that mode instead of I need to catch the 5 biggest. At that point, when I fished I think it's the 4th mat that I had marked that were fresh, and there was no cut grass there either, or chopped grass. I'm like, what do I need to do? And my options are go try the minnow shake again. I've tried it twice, morning and evening. It didn't work. Go back to Gobbets Cove. I didn't catch anything there the day before, and it was a similar pattern. And I'm like, where you caught those 2 fish yesterday, it was different. And you caught them there. And you caught them there in practice. So 2 different times. It looks like crap. It looks stupid. Go there.
Was it the clearest water you'd found, though?
Toho was clear. There was a lot of clear water in Toho. Yeah, it was really clear. But I'm like, we'll go back and try it. A small area, we'll go try it. So I run over there. I've got 4 marks in this area now, and I'm going to say it's kind of hard to describe, but a 200-yard stretch, I've got 4 marks. So I pull up to the first one, nothing on the first one. I get to the second one, and I flip in, and boom, pound a halfer. So now I've got 2 for, I put them in as 2 for 2. I probably had about 2.5. Pulled down, put on a new bait, flipped in there, boom, 3.5. Literally the very next cast. And I'm like, why are these fish here? First of all, I'm like, thank you, Lord. Thank you so much. At least now I have 3.
Why they're there. Not nearly as important as the fact that they are at the moment.
Yeah. But again, I'm trying to, but again, that's fishing. That's what we have to do.
Right.
When we catch them,
Right.
The most important thing is that they are there.
Right.
If we can figure out why they're there, it helps you to be able to find more of them.
Yes.
Or even to dial in. And that's, I'm getting to that too. So I'm like, why are they here? So I get to looking at what's going on. This particular mat that I'm fishing, and this is a big mat. It's closer to the actual bank. And it's just a long, big It's almost like the bank, but it's not. And what it is, it looks like it had grown up there in really shallow water, grown up, died, and pulled up. So when you could look, and again, it was gin clear and glass calm, you could look, and there was a gap underneath that mat about that big. And it wasn't grass. I mean, I'd switch to a half ounce weight now to flip back under that. But if you could get it in those areas, there was like a cave back in, and that was the entrance to that cave. And I started running my waypoints where I had caught them there, and everywhere that I caught them on that mat, there were these holes with this cave going back in. And that's what they were doing. That's why they were there. Unfortunately, I hadn't found any more of that in practice, but I did have this stretch of it. And I thought, yeah, let's do this. So I catch two in that first cave. We'll call those caves now.
Sounds
Another 70 yards, I don't know, 50 to 70 yards. I'm fishing, nothing, nothing, nothing. And I see it. Now I know what I'm looking for. I see it. There's another cave there. And I'm like, let's see if this is a real thing. So I flip in there, 2-pounder, pull them out of that cave. Now I've got four. And again, I don't know what it's going to take, but we still kind of know. I'm like, I got a chance at a check now with four. And especially if I get another one, I flip that, no more come out of that cave. I go on around this point, it's on another 20 yards. And there's another little cave there. And this one has some like 2 lily pads and a little bit of not chopped grass, but there's some dead like pencil reeds or tulies that are kind of laying there. And it's kind of matted up a little bit right at the edge of the cave. So I flip over there, get dropped down through that little trash mat. It's not real thick. And I shake it, nothing. I go to yo-yo it. And when I yo-yo it and give it that quick up and back down, when it starts dropping, one just jars it. And I mean, you know when it's a big one when they bite.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh crap. And I kind of felt him going with it. And I jerked. And I came back with just a hook and a sinker. No Senko. And I'm like, oh, I know that was a big one. So I power pull down right there, get another stick bait out, put it on. Yeah, I know it's a big one. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And I also know that he ain't gonna bite again, right? So I flip back in there
Florida
and
though.
it's
So it's I don't know.
well, that's where it gets interesting because I flip into this little hole and this time, as it's sinking, I see my line jump, just like that. I reel down and he's got it. And I wail on him. He comes up and starts thrashing around. He's in those lily pads and that trash, and he's thrashing around. And it's the one I'm looking for. I mean, it's not an 8, but it's a solid 5. I think it was a 6, and you can tell by the fact I'm saying I think it
Yeah.
was. You
Yeah.
know how this come in, but I get him out of the thick stuff. I get him out of where I was worried about. When you're fishing this kind of stuff, if you can get them out of where they're at into
Yeah.
that open water, you've got them right. Well, I finally get him out, and it's like. And I see him swimming, and he's big. You know, he's like the one. Now in my mind, I'm like, I got a chance at top 10. I'm going to be fishing tomorrow. And there are 3 tiny little cattails.
I know where this story goes in Florida. Yes.
And so he swims around those and around them and hangs up. Now, this is where my angling skills may have cost me. As soon as he wraps up, there's about 10 things, at least 3 that I probably could have done differently. But all this is happening in a matter of seconds.
Oh
And
yeah. It's quick.
everyone who's fished understands how fast this is happening. And
Right.
probably everyone would have done the same thing. But as soon as I see him wrap up, I'm on the trolling motor to try to go get him. He's like 8 feet away. I'm on the trolling motor and he's just hanging there. That great big old mouth, just and
Yeah.
I'm going towards him and I'm starting to reel down and the boat stops. And he's like just 2
Oh.
feet away from where I can reach him and my poles are down. And
Oh,
like,
God.
I'm like, right as I hit my pole button and my poles start to come up and the boat starts drifting towards him, he makes that last flop and disappears.
Yeah.
And I've still only got 4. So this is like a 6. This isn't a call. This is putting me at 15 to 16 pounds. I'm heartbroken. So I didn't even put the poles back down. I didn't Hawk smash the trolling motor pedal. I didn't slam my rod down. I wasn't even mad. I was more heartbroken than I was
Oh yeah.
mad.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where the little tiny tear falls right down the corner of your eye just for a second.
Leave my emotional crying out of this.
I think he was speaking from personal
Oh, it is
experience.
personal experience, it definitely.
Yeah. I literally sat down. I laid my rod down nicely, even though I wanted to slam it down. And I sit down right where I'm sitting here now in the passenger seat. I opened the cooler up and I got a Gatorade out. I took a deep breath and I felt sorry for myself. And I drank my Gatorade. Probably took about 2 minutes.
Yep.
And I thought, you know what? It's all right. It's all
Yeah,
right.
thing
There
about
might be
Florida,
another one. He
if
might
there's
bite
something there.
again. I can't continue to feel sorry for myself. I had the opportunity to come and do this. There's nothing I can do about it now. Maybe learn from it, but go fish. So that's what I did. I fished on down that line, didn't catch any more down through there, and then that whole map changed. It just transitioned into a whole different type of area. Wasn't feeling it. Wasn't the same. I had about an hour left to fish, maybe an hour and a half. So I start running my options. Do I go back down that same stretch that I just fished? Do I go back to the cove and hope it's an afternoon bite? Do I go back to the area I thought I would catch fish in on day one and didn't? Or do I just go fish? Do I try something totally different off the wall? And these are the decisions that kind of really
And
make
that's
the difference.
for any of the listeners or watchers, take a few minutes and decide which path would you have taken versus which one Ed chose. Because oftentimes that's the difference between finishing 27th or 50th.
Or 167th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And so many decisions. I've talked about this. This is one of those points. I have an hour left to fish. I'm trying to do the math in my head. I don't think I had a check yet. It's hard to tell because I don't know exactly what my weight was because I hadn't weighed my fish yet. On day two, I didn't weigh my fish until I got 5. Spoiler. And I didn't know where I needed. That's where it goes back to. I'm not trying to cash a check. What do I feel like my best chance to catch more fish is?
I know what I would have done. So it's really interesting. Now
What would you have done,
I
Kevin?
would have went back down the same mat.
Good choice. I did. And my thought process is even with catching the fish and losing the fish and fishing more of it than I needed to, one, now I know what's going on, or I felt like I did. I felt like I knew where the high spots were. So I don't have to fish this whole 30-minute stretch and slow way down like I did the first time. I can go hit my caves and still have time to make one of the other options. If I start doing something else, completely abandon it, I'm not going to have time to come back here. I'm already here. It's going to take me 15 or 20 minutes. I still have other options. And again, that voice, it's like, go through it again. So start up the big motor, idle back to where my first waypoint is. I just caught 2 fish out of this cave, mind you. I flip back in this cave, and I kid you not, first flip, I funk, 2-pounder. I've got my 5th one. I weigh him. I'm at 9. Let me think. No, that was a pound and a half. Or it put me at like 9.4 was the 5 that I put on my bass track. I think was 9.4 when I hit my limit, and that's what my scale said. So I'm like, heck yeah! I go on down to the next cave, catch a 2-pounder. Called out that rat, that 12 and a half incher. I called him out. Weighed him. Like I think 10.5. So I think I called a 15 ouncer with a 2-pounder, something like that. Actually 9.5, 10.4. Called a 1-1 with a 2 even. I'm feeling good now. 10 pounds. I feel like again, not. I don't know. I don't want to know, and I didn't put too much time into it, but I feel like there's a real good chance I'm cashing a check. Either way, I'm happy, right? I've got
Right.
5. I made good decisions. I adjusted, which is fun, right?
Yeah.
That's why we
Yeah.
do this. It's
And at this
fun.
point, you've survived Florida at least,
Yeah,
which is what everybody wants to do. Everybody always talks about surviving Florida because
yeah,
Florida is such feast and famine that really every pro angler talks about surviving it. So you go
yeah,
down, survive Florida. You don't want to bomb it, anything other than a bomb. You survived and you move on to another day. So you survived
yeah,
Florida at this point. So that's a
yeah.
relief.
And it's like I said, it's fun. That stuff like that to me, making those adjustments. I mean, I never imagined when I found that chopped grass pattern that grass would completely disappear between Tuesday when practice ended and Friday. And
Yeah.
it didn't even hit me that it was happening on Thursday until Friday when I got there. And I'm like, this doesn't look the same. So being able to adjust and figure out good enough to catch five. Now, I think focusing on that part of it more than what place I finished, I think that made the difference between 27th and 97th. I really do.
Yep.
That not being so results oriented, but more process oriented.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, I think that's what, and Julie's going to hate the name I'm getting ready to bring up because she gets aggravated every time I say his name. Mike Iaconelli talks about, and it
I'm
is
not allowed to say negative things on the
well,
podcast.
it's not
So
negative. He made you mad one time by
he
not answering
did.
his whenever he was choosing between which tournament series he was going to go with. We watched like a 2-hour thing of his,
It
and
was at
then
least an hour.
yeah,
And
and
then at the end of it, he cut it off and it was just lines on the screen. It was
when he said, and then the choice of which tournament trail I'm going with, and then he just cut it off. So she's
it
been
was
mad ever
total
since.
clickbait, which is fine, except I'm never getting that hour of my life back. And it's not funny.
And she's mad at him now
Why would
forever.
you do that?
She thought it was rude.
It was very rude, Mike Iaconelli.
Rude.
It's very rude. Anyway, yeah,
But
it's a
but it's
little
what
irritating.
what he talks about when he talks about fishing the moment
yeah,
because you're
We couldn't fish the moment because we were sucked into his fake video.
what Ed's talking about is fishing the moment of making the decisions and just taking what the water is giving you.
I've become one of the older guys, one of the seasoned veterans. I still feel young, but I'm not a young guy on the tournament trail anymore, whether it's back home, definitely not on these opens. I'm upper middle, but I'm not a young guy anymore. And if I can give advice to you young anglers, gosh, I've heard this so many times. I never understood what it meant. I thought I did, but I didn't until just in the last 3 to 5 years. Don't focus on where you're placing and how your tournament results are going, where you're at, how much money you win, what others' perceptions are of you. Just go fish. Go enjoy fishing, focus on the fishing, and don't worry about the results. And again, people who knew me when I was younger, or even when I started fishing these bigger terms, and I figured that out before I started fishing opens, right? Because it comes to the point, it's not, I don't know how to put it. It's more about the fishing than it is the winning,
Right.
especially if you're fishing with the same guys, you're fishing the same bodies of water. It becomes more about the fishing than about the winning. But then you go to that next level, and I let it go back to being about the winning or trying to win or the success than about the fishing. And this year, I made up my mind I wasn't going to do that. And I think it really, really made a big difference in this tournament. So
Yeah.
I, I gave you a little teaser earlier about that first fish that clued me in that
Mhm.
mats were going to be the deal. So I fished that again. I ended up catching about 8 or 9 keepers that day, between all my places. So I run back to Cypress Cove because I fished it in the morning, didn't catch them. But I knew those fish didn't leave. So I was hoping maybe they'd pull back up under those mats in the afternoon. Go back, fish them, look for a couple caves in Cypress Cove, couldn't find them. I've got 15 minutes left. So that Cypress Cove running in Florida is different. You got to, it's
It is very
it's
different.
different. I mean, I'm running, so I'm in
Not a
this
lot of
cove,
straight
and
lines.
yeah. Well, there's like 300 yards of 2 foot deep water that's full of lily pads with one literally a path, not even as wide as your boat that you run down that doesn't have lily pads in it. And it's literally 2 foot deep.
Yeah.
Now, down there, you don't have rocks and stumps and things to hit. So you're okay doing that. But still,
Yeah.
my worry was with 15 minutes, knowing I had a decent bag of fish, that my motor plugs up and I got to fight, So I'm like, I at least want to get out of this cove and out into open water with 15 minutes left. So I run out there, everything's fine, and I've got 10 minutes of fishing. So I'm like, where do I want to go? And my two options are, honestly, I was headed back to that place I started the tournament to go shake a minnow and hope I catch a big one there. And I'm going out there and I look at my graph and I see that blue dot over where I caught that first fish on a chatterbait, that my first mat fish in Florida in practice. I thought, that's set up pretty good. What the heck? It's right there. So, I cut over there and come down off pad and pick up the flipping rod, and I flip out there beside that mat and set the hook. Good one. And I'm like, heck yeah, so that'll help. And it gets over and I boat flipping the bottom of the boat. And it's a 3 pounder. And like, so I look, oh, it's bleeding. I've got it hooked deep and in the bottom. You know, that great big 4-aught flipping hook. I've never
Mm.
even seen one of those before until I went to Florida. But I'm like, crap. So I just grab my scissors, cut the line, and throw him in the big side. And I'm like, I'm not even fishing anymore because if I get back now, first flight, I'll get a bag quick and I
Yeah.
get this fish back alive is my main focus because the chance of me calling 4 ounces is way smaller than that fish dying because I fished an extra 10 minutes.
Right.
So, and I got to tell you this part too. So I throw him in the big side. I get my little side open. I look on my scale says number 2 is what I need to call. I open up my live well, pull number 2 out, and I take it off the bobber. And I looked at that fish and I looked at my scale and it said 1 pound, 4 ounces. And I looked at that fish and I'm like, no. So I put him back on number 2 and calling process, I've already been too long. At some point, I got my bobbers mixed up. And number 2 is not my small fish, but I had him off the bobber ready to throw him back. And I'm like, wait a minute. Pulled out. I had the small one on number 8. Another story for another day. That was a 110, which was my small that day. So it had cost me 6 ounces if I'd have thrown that fish back and trusted my scale versus saying, that's not a 1.4. That's a 110. So I called that fish. That actually put me in the second tier of checks. So that was $1,000 fish on the last cast that I made during the tournament. I ran back to the ramp. Fish actually did great. He was in great shape when I got back. Ended up finishing 27th, tickled to death. Honestly, the big one that I lost, I don't think there's any way it would have got me into the top 10. The next tier of checks was 15. I don't think it would have got me to 15. It would have had to been 6.5 to get me to 15th. I don't think it was 6.5. So it really didn't cost me a dime. It cost me some points, but it ended up not being that big of a deal. 6 to 10 points maybe, but
Yeah.
it was a great tournament, great time, great experience. Any questions?
Yeah. I do have a question. Number one is, so to make the EQs, how many did they take? 40?
Okay, so there's 3 pools that they pull from. There are the guys who fish all 8, and the top 30 who fish all 8, both divisions. The top 30, they're the first pool. Once they get that 30, obviously those guys are probably going to come out of the top 50 of each division.
Right.
So that frees up, they're out of that pool. So now each division gets 50. So realistically, I'm going to say you're going to lose at least 10. So I think if you're in the top 60 in either division, top 50, you're guaranteed in. If you're in top 50 in your division, probably top 60 are going to get in, possibly even as high as 70, but probably top 60
Okay.
out of 200. So top
Yeah.
third. Yeah. I'm off to a good start.
You're off to a good start. Definitely. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Florida, I've fished down there a few times at Okeechobee, not Kissimmee, but they fish kind of similar. Florida fishes like Florida. And it's funny because you're like, what decision do you make? And I couldn't tell you how many times I've spent in Florida in a cold front because it seems like every time you fish a major tournament in Florida, there's a cold front. It's always find some fish, hunker down, and catch them. So whenever you made the choice to go back down that section of bank, that's definitely the Florida choice. So that's a good thing. And I see
Yep.
you holding the bait in your hand, and I think you posted that somewhere. That's the killer?
I've got to come over here.
Yes.
Camera died, so now I am in Cody's camera.
This is an interesting story. My buddy Chris Giffen with Flatline Custom Lures, Custom Rods and Lures, I believe is the name of his company. But if you look up Flatline Custom, you can get it pulled up. So I called Chris before I went to Florida. I had this idea of it's a Senko, right? It's a stick bait. It's a 5-inch stick bait. It's black with blue tail. But I went to Chris and I said, "Can you make me some of these? And this is what I want." And I don't want to give my secret away because he's also started making me some baits with this same formula back here, but it's not the same plasticizer. It's got some different ingredients in it that I feel like may make this a better bait. I think the reason I did so good on this above any other baits that I flipped or punched. If you get some of these, and if you put in your order, tell me what Ed's special blend, and I don't mind if you get them, but I want you to know what it is. They are way stiffer and harder than a normal bait, any plastics that you're going to get at first, they're very rigid. All
Mhm.
right. I don't think it mattered what got down to those fish. If you got in front of them, I don't think whether this was a creature bait, Bass Pro Shop brand, I don't think it mattered what it was that dropped in front of them because I think it was just that reaction bite of something right in their house. But if I threw a creature bait every 3 or 4 casts, my hook point would come through and I
Yeah.
was snagged and I was pulling off and I was changing baits and or re-rigging my bait because it wouldn't stay on. These things were so stiff and rigid that I could make way more casts without hanging up, without taking the time to readjust my bait, without putting a new bait on. And I think that was really the key. And they bit it. They held on to it. I didn't lose very many fish. I didn't miss very many fish for what I was doing. And I think that's part of the secret blend. But the real key, in my opinion, was the rigidity, the rigidness, the stiffness, the toughness of this bait, and being able to fish it more efficiently and longer, make more casts, and get it in more places without hanging up. I think was the difference on that bait. And I've got a whole. I mean, this isn't even all of my. I used them. Um, I
Yeah.
used just about everyone. The first trip I made down in pre-practice, I had to make me a sample batch of like 10 of them. I ran out of those in like the first 2 hours I was down there, and I
So
called him. I said, "Hey, why don't you make me 100 of those?" So yeah, flatline custom tackle rods, lures.
Ed's special sauce.
Yeah, ask for Ed's special blend. I don't know,
Ed's special blend.
but this free plug that I'm giving him here,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel
He's
like he needs to name this blend after me. I'm just saying.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. So, did you have those made special for Florida before you went?
Yes and no. I had those made special for Florida.
Okay.
Yes.
The blend?
Yeah, and I mean, Joe Wiseman commented on my Facebook post. Black Cinco with a blue tail is not a secret.
Right. No, no, that's not a secret. That's a Florida. The other thing they fish down there a lot is like a green pumpkin with an orange tail.
Okay.
It's another weird Florida thing. I don't know why, but they catch 'em.
Yeah.
Alright. There's interesting stuff that happens in, with Florida bait making, and a lot of it's, similar. I would be curious to know.
And
Curious.
like I said, I don't wanna go too into this, but this is
Right.
something that's part of it for me. I make a lot of my own baits, but I don't make them to save money.
Right.
I make them because there's something that I don't like about what I can buy
Yeah.
that I want to improve on. So I modify molds and things like that. It's like this. I've never gotten into the plastic stuff, but I feel like there's a reason that Cincos are better than, and maybe you don't believe they are, but I'm 100% convinced that
Oh, yeah.
Cincos are better than Yum Dingers, than better
Yes.
than Sticos. That
1,000%.
We just had a big conversation about this on the podcast that's supposed to air next week.
Yeah.
whenever you need some more material, call me back on and we'll go into an in-depth my take on it. Now that I've tried them and seen how good that they do work, I had to make me some flukes too. Actually, I need to go pick those up. He made me some Ned rigs, some TRD shaped with the same
Yeah.
elixir.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I said, I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but it makes a difference to me.
Right, that's what matters. Yeah. Florida
So
dude, there's a lot of cool stuff that comes out of Florida plastics. They're always tinkering with stuff down there, and it's interesting. Like Gambler, for instance, they have the garlic in there. But,
uh,
bitters baits, right? You
yeah,
ever
I
deal with
might
that?
have a bag of 100 of their flukes in my front compartment right now.
Yeah.
I caught him in pre-practice on those, but actually I threw Chris's flukes during the practice for this. I threw the bitters too, and actually they're part of what gave me this idea. Bitter baits are different.
Yes. Yes, they are. Yes.
My mind is constantly thinking, why? What makes a
There is
Cinco better than a Sticko or a
yeah,
Yum Dinger? What
and
makes a bitter bait better than
Salt.
depends.
Salt.
Bitters baits have something different going on. There's a special deal with his.
I enjoy this. This is fun to me. But, Kevin, you and I, we can't get on the phone. There's times I want to call you, but I'm like, I don't have time to call Kevin right now because we
Right.
talk for an hour and a half and I got places to be. And I enjoy this. And I enjoy, if there's two guys in Ireland that think I look like a
Right.
fishing leprechaun, so they tune into your podcast, you know, that's
I
great.
told Ed that his is he's real big in
Yeah,
Ireland because he had, like, up to, like, 8% of the watch people were from Ireland. I was like, I
that is so there must be like a famous Irish person named Ed Powell or something. You told me that, I did laugh, and I'm like, red beard, kind of midget size. I've been accused of being a leprechaun. So I think this is fun. I enjoy it. I really appreciate you guys letting me come on and talk and ask
hey,
me
I
on.
glad, like,
That's
I'm
what we want.
yeah,
If
we were
you
literally just talking about we're like, "Hey, we need to have Ed come back on to talk about the recap." Love to do it after every one. Like,
Yeah,
I think
we
it's
had
awesome.
I said, "Did you call Ed?" And he said, "No, he's probably tired. I'm gonna give him a couple days to recuperate."
It's a pretty good story, isn't it?
It's a great
That's
story.
fishermen love to talk about their fishing days. Like, that's what we want this to be a place that
Yeah.
people can come and tell their fishing stories. And if somebody out there in the world wants to watch and listen and join along, they can.
I think it's different. You hear the pros all talk about Florida. I think it's way different whenever you have a local guy going to Florida talking about it. It aligns with what the pros say, but I think it makes it more sense because you can relate it to things back here versus what they see. Because, like, you're talking about the little caves. Yeah, I've seen that. And in Florida, it's so weird because whatever for whatever reason, one bank's a little bit different, the reed heads or something, but not every reed head. I mean, it might be a stretch of reed heads that's 30 yards long that wins a tournament.
Yeah.
Why? Who knows? It's either warmer in there, they're congregating there for some reason. Nobody knows. The guys from Florida can't tell you why.
And I think a lot of that spot, obviously, I don't know if that big flat, it was really sheltered from the wind because the big reeds and cattails were kind of around it. So it was more sheltered from the wind than any of it. There was a lot of flat pads in that area. It was honestly a really good looking spawning area. And then when those fish pulled off the beds and I think those caves, and you could tell that both sitting in 1.8.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
And yeah, and I could tell when I dropped down in that cave. I mean, you know how far you yo-yo before your bait comes out.
Yeah.
It was 3 to 4 foot deep right there. So again, it's not the obvious what you think of that first drop that they pull off to. You
Right.
think out towards the middle of the lake,
Right.
even though this is close to the bank. But
And you
again, if I'm up there to spawn, weather cools down, I need to pull out. Well, they don't necessarily
right.
know where the bank is. They want to drop down because under that mat, I can relax. There's food swimming by. I got stuff dropping down here.
It's
And
warmer.
and that was their mid-lake grass edge, but it
Yeah.
was even closer and more convenient. Those were the
Yeah.
lazy ones I was catching.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it's also warmer there. The sun's been hitting it. It's funny, all of that mud and yucky, crappy stuff heats up and it retains
Yeah.
heat. It's just
Yeah.
really different. In Florida, man, it is hard to wrap your mind around it being from here that you're
You
sitting in 2 feet of water and you're tossing into 3 feet of water with a 1 ounce weight or whatever.
15 feet away from the boat.
Yeah. And your line might go down a foot and a half and then it just stops for some reason. Then the next thing you know, there's something trying to pull the rod out of your hand.
I'm telling you, that first one I caught in my day two area on day one, I'm thinking, I got to get out of here. This isn't the deal today. And I was within 3 casts of leaving. I flipped that thing over there and felt that bite. Of course, I'm in the boat by myself, so I can talk to myself. Nobody makes fun of me. I felt that bite, and I literally said out loud, "No way!" And I pulled up. He's swimming with it, and I'm like, "No way!"
Yeah.
It was. I couldn't believe that fish was there, and I mean, it was 2.5. It stayed
Yeah.
in my bag. That was my smallest one on day one. He made the cut. Had I left, again, we talk about the decisions, and some of it's just flat out good luck. I mean, I went there because I stumbled onto those. I caught two there in practice and didn't know why. And it
Yeah.
was on the way to where I was going. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
I've got some marks here. Let's check it. Had I not caught that one when I did on that cast, I'd have probably left and never came back to that area. And
Yeah.
I'd have really struggled on day two,
Yeah. Yeah.
when my grass disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Florida, it's awesome and it's terrifying.
I will tell you, after I made up my mind when I went the first time, And after taking Jessie down there, Jessie, she didn't even leave the house while I was out fishing. So she hardly ever left the house. But she loved its backyard. Had the house we had a really nice backyard patio area. She
Yeah.
could sit out there and read books. And she said, "We're coming down here next winter, at least 2 weeks." I'm like,
No problem.
okay. And had she been allowed, she probably would have went out on the boat with me some. If I'm down there just fishing, she would go out, and
Right.
I don't think she would fish, but she'd sit on the boat, watch me fish and read a book. And
Oh,
so,
dude, it's awesome. I love
oh, I love it.
Florida. I really do.
And Kissimmee is the only area I've been to, but Kissimmee is a beautiful little town. Whoever designed their traffic, and their roads, I mean, but you've got 4 lanes going down through here with no warning at all. You are in a turn only lane.
No,
And there may be 2 of them that there's 4 lanes that you're going and no sign until you're in a turn only lane. So now all you can do is kick your blinker on and wait for somebody to let you in on a bass boat.
that's the other thing about pre-practice that's nice is just being able to get around. People don't
Yes.
realize how important that is during a tournament week of just knowing how to get to the nearest Walmart, the nearest easy place to get gas, or
Yep.
depending on where you're fishing, where you're not going to get robbed. That's all important stuff.
Yeah.
And like you said, running, because Florida, you can ground a boat fast in Florida. It
Yeah.
is wild.
I
Because
almost got stuck a couple times.
my cousin and I were on Okeechobee. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. And the wind was pushing the water out of the lake into the rim canal. Like the wind does that. So the lake was draining and we didn't know it. So we're running like those boat lanes. He looks down and he's like, "Oh my God, we don't have any water." Dude, we were running in inches of water. I mean, it was when I set the boat down, it hit the bottom and then floated back up to rest.
I've always heard, and I've never until I got down there that when you feel, and you can feel it when you're running on plane, but 20, 30 miles an hour just up on plane, which is how I ran through that stuff. There's really nothing to hit except for bottom. And I've always heard, and I know it's true now, when you feel your motor start getting in it,
Don't let up.
you get on it until you feel your motor come out of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's something else I noticed. And the Ys are always turning in here. A lot of those places where there's a 20-foot wide boat lane is the shallowest place.
Yeah.
And I think what it is, that's where the airboats run. Well, if there's 3 foot of water where they're running, it doesn't kill all the vegetation. But you get those humps or whatever and it kills all the vegetation, and then it makes a path. So that's what everybody wants to run. So it makes the path more predominant, but it may be 3 foot deep right there and right there and 3 inches deep where there's no weeds.
Right.
And so those are the kind of things that, man, had I not had pre-practice, I would have wasted a full day of practice in
Yeah.
places that,
Just being in junk.
yeah,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah, my
So,
cousin and I, we were practicing for an FLW event, and I was in a lily pad field, and I wasn't thinking. We kind of drifted in there fishing. Start the boat up, and it didn't reverse, and I was like, "Oh no!" I sucked up all those lily pads and all that crap, right up in my motor. The arm went off. It was such a disaster. So you're back there pulling all that crap off. You're wasting 45 minutes of just cleaning that crap out and then getting out of that place. And then you're mad at yourself because you're like, I knew better than to do that, but I,
yep.
just wasn't thinking, just put it in reverse. And what am I doing? Never go backwards in anything. That's how you learn. And unfortunately, sometimes that can be expensive.
So I watched the Bass Live on Saturday, where that guy won it. I never even went into that area because it was so choked out with hydrilla and peppergrass that when I was over towards that area, I'm like, I'm not going to figure this out, and I'm not going to waste my time fighting this. I don't know how to run it. Didn't learn while I was here last time. If it's one over here, they can have it.
Yeah.
And that's the disadvantage to guys who have been there, dozens
Sure.
of times. But those guys, the top 10, 6 of them were in that area on that south end of Toho, out on the
Yeah.
grass lines. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And they catch them in that grass, but man, that's a needle in a haystack. If you're in a position where you think you could win one and that's different, but if your goal is to have a good finish and get out, mission accomplished for you.
Yeah, I'm to it. And I'll tell you, I may suck at the next 3. I preface this with that. I feel really good about these next 3, Kevin.
Oh, Yeah, and you should. They set up much better. You fished Eufaula, several times. At this point, you fished the rest of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Eufaula 5 times. It goes off limits February 28th. I think I'm gonna get 6 days there before it goes off limits. I've done more research this year than I've ever done. I swear there's not a YouTube video on Kissimmee that I didn't watch, and I'm getting there with Eufaula already. I have a really good idea of where they're spawning, where they go before they spawn, where they go after they spawn. It's just a matter of in these 5 days to go check those areas. It's a live scope tournament. Figure out the most efficient way to fish. I'm really excited about Eufaula.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Eufaula a lot.
I like it too.
It's a lake that I wanna go back and fish it more because it's one of those where I feel like I could do well there.
If you ever want to make a trip back in January, you let me know because I know how to catch them in January down there.
Yeah.
It's fun. Once the water temperature dropped, it was like 49 when I was down there. When it dropped below 55, they got on those steep banks and eat a
Mm.
jig, period.
Yeah.
And it's not just there, Lake Harding, which is an 8,000 acre lake. It's the same deal on Harding. It's big largemouth. Harding has a ton of spots, but the big largemouth, they get on those steep banks, those channel swing banks, those steep banks on the islands. If there's a laydown or a brush pile or a stump, dude, it's got
Yeah.
them.
Nice.
And
You gotta love fishing in the South.
oh, I'm telling you, go down. Yeah.
We picked about the worst bass fishing state to live in, really.
Yes.
On the East Coast, it's crazy. Go north, you
Yeah.
do better. Go south, you do better. Go east or west, any direction.
Yeah. East or west? East, definitely, because you get over Smith Mountain Curve.
Yeah.
West, you got to go a little ways west, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But still, I mean, you're not that far from Cumberland and
that's a little more south, but
yeah,
yeah.
it's wild.
And I'm at the point in my life now too, where my kids are gone and my wife likes going with me on these trips. I'm not spending a ton of money. I do things not always the easiest. Driving all night. I can get an extra day fishing for one less day in a motel.
Yeah.
I'm not spending a lot of money to travel to Lake Norman versus to travel to Stonewall.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
That's true.
And I've made 3 day trips to Norman this year already, and
Wow.
I'm going Saturday if I can get my boat out with the snow.
We'll hop off here.
Wait, tell us about the snake picture.
I actually took that on day 1 of the tournament.
It looks about 10 feet long.
It was probably 6, honestly. It was a big snake.
I don't
One
know.
of my Facebook friends identified it as a Florida green water snake.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to focus so much on enjoying myself and not taking it so serious that I can stop during day 1 of the tournament and snap a picture of a snake because I think it's cool. And I really
Cool.
think that helps me fish better.
It does.
I
It
always do
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you always catch fish out of the back of the boat.
I know.
Not
So
always.
the other thing I meant to talk about, one of the biggest reasons that I like doing these is day 1, I was in the same flight as Terry Scroggins, Mike McClellan, Brett Height, Stephen Browning, and gosh, who was the other guys that was standing there? He had a big bag of fish. It wasn't Big Show. Another guy that had a really good bag of fish on day 1. He had 20 pounds. But these guys are all like, you
Yeah.
know how you have the bag line and the weigh tanks?
Yeah.
And like Stephen Browning has his fish in the same hole as me. Frederick Bannis was there. But I'm right there and I don't have anything to say. But these guys, it's like us standing around talking at a weigh-in.
Yeah.
And I'm just there like a fly on the wall and like call it cheesy or whatever. But it was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
even though I'm not one of the guys, I feel like I'm one of the guys when I'm standing there listening to those
Right.
guys rib each other and talk about all the funny stuff that happened that day while they're out there fishing and catching 17, 18, 19. Brett Hyde, Stephen Brown, he said, "You better not have any more than what you told me you had." He's like, "Dude, I swear I had 2 fish at 145." He said, I just stumbled onto a 7.5, a 5, and a 4.5 in the last 15 minutes or the last half hour or whatever. Stephen Browning's talking about he's kind of protecting a little area there that he wants to let it rest, but he doesn't want to get too far away from it. And he said, "Here comes this red boat idling up to it." And he said he gets hard on the trolling motor to get out there and, try to keep that guy from idling over his spot. And he said, next thing he knows, it's Big Show. He said, Big Show hollers over at him and says, "Hey, Hammer, there's a school of fish out here." And Browning says, "I know, you idiot. That's the ones I've been fishing for. Get away from them."
Yeah.
And those are guys that when we started fishing,
Watched on TV forever.
I'm just hanging out. Like I said, I don't even have anything to say other than just laugh at their jokes, but it's awesome. And then like I said, to actually beat some of them,
Yeah.
y
That's really cool.
yeah, it's fun. That's
Yeah.
part of what makes it fun.
All right, folks. So that's a wrap on the interview with Ed Powell. Ed, we look forward to talking to you after the next Open. And hopefully, whenever that happens, you've finished 27th or higher, or at least in the top, what is it, 40 or something to get a check? What do they get? What's a check place?
Top 45 cuts a check.
45. So we wish you the top 45 or better. Hopefully, top 1. Then we can come see you at the Classic.
That's the goal. That is the main goal of fishing. The second main goal. First main goal is to enjoy the ride.
I will say it right now that if you do happen to make the Classic, we will be there, wherever it is. I do not care where it is. I will be there.
And I will give you an all access pass to interview classic competitor Ed Powell. Not exclusive rights, but
all access rights.
all access.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If someone offered me money for exclusive, I'm going to have to retract that. But
I don't blame you.
I didn't sign anything.
I would totally expect that.
You didn't
Yeah,
sign it, but we got it on video.
Will that hold up in court, Kevin?
You know what? We would let you out of it.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe we'll ride Ed's coattails to fame.
Maybe.
His trip to the elites and to the Classic and all that.
Yeah.
That'd be good. That'd be a fun ride.
I feel like we're reaching. I feel like let's just stick to a couple guys having fun in the garage.
I've never ridden the tails of a leprechaun before.
If I had a good Irish accent, I would come up with something clever to say right now.
There's a pot of gold at the end of it.
Appreciate you guys having me as usual. I look forward to coming back on. It's a blast. I love this kind of thing.
It's great. And man, good luck at the next one. We'll be watching.
All right. Thanks, guys.